What's up, guys? D-Rock1992 here. For this next video, I'm going to be reviewing the movie Role Models. Came out in 2008. It got a 77% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, which I actually think is a bit high, bit too high. I'll talk more about that later, but anyway, this movie has a pretty nice cast. The two main guys are Seann William Scott, better known as Stifler from the American Pie film series, and Paul Rudd, who is what I consider the king of romantic comedies. But two of his best known roles, actually one, in two movies is Brian Fantana, I think his name was, in the Anchorman series. The two Anchorman movies. So those two are the main stars. Some supporting characters some supporting characters. Elizabeth Banks is one of them. She plays Paul Rudd's character's wife. She starred in a movie long time ago I watched called Zack and Miri Make a Porno, which I thought was okay. Then haven't watched it in a long time, but anyway, Ken Jeong, better known as Leslie Chang from the Hangman movies. He's in this movie. Christopher Mintz-Plasse, or whatever however you pronounce the last name, better known for his role in the two Kick-Ass movies as the lead guy. Jane Lynch, who is best known for her role on Glee, the TV series. And those are pretty much the big name actors and actresses who are in this movie. But it's a good cast, definitely. So the plot of this movie. Seann William Scott and Paul Rudd's characters are two energy drink salesmen that go around from school to school selling energy drinks, selling their brand. You think, looking at this, that they're not very good role models to begin with. They're going into schools, they're promoting energy drinks which are very high on sugar, which I guess in the movie they talked about it having poison. They're basically selling poison to kids. So, I mean, why would the teachers let them come into the school, the principal, the officials, come into the school and sell them on their, on the energy drinks? Wouldn't make much sense in real life, but this is a movie, so it served as being pretty funny. So anyway, Paul Rudd's character is really disillusioned with the energy salesman job because he wants more out of his life. He feels like he hasn't fulfilled anything yet. Seann William Scott, though, he loves this job. He's more of the slacker type character. Seann William Scott is known for that anyway, playing those roles. He was when he played Stifler in the American Pie series. But anyway, Paul Rudd's character is dumped by Elizabeth Banks' character because Paul Rudd's character is a downer, is a Debbie Downer. He looks, he is very negative. He's disillusioned, basically. So Elizabeth Banks' character leaves him, and the next day, I believe it is, Paul Rudd's character has a pretty bad day. So they go to a school promoting their energy drink. Paul Rudd's character does not care anymore. He adamantly, he says right out loud, this drink is poison. I don't care, I really don't care at all. Kind of that attitude. But that's not the worst part. The worst part is when they go outside after their energy drink meeting with the kids and the school officials, and they find that the energy drink truck is being towed. Paul Rudd's character, this hits his breaking point right here. This really sets him over the edge. So what he does is try to steal the energy drink vehicle out from the towing, but he crashes it into a statue, and then it goes right over to them being in Elizabeth Banks' character's lawyer's office, because Elizabeth Banks' character is a lawyer, and there's a couple punishments that are laid out because Elizabeth Banks' character made a deal with the judge. Either the two guys, either Seann William Scott and Paul Rudd's characters, can complete 150 hours of community service, or they get sentenced to 30 days in jail. They take the 150 hours of community service, definitely. I know I would too if I was in that situation. But anyway, they volunteer at this place called Sturdy Wings, which is headed by a former drug addict, alcohol addict, played by Jane Lynch. She was fairly hilarious in this role. I mean, she wasn't absolutely great. She was good. I mean, she played her character pretty well. But anyway, she doesn't like the two guys very at the start. And she kind of lets them know that. She says, she will watch over them and make sure they don't get into trouble. So anyway, they get Sturdy Wings is this Big Brother type project, Big Brother type organization. There are people that take on little kids, and they basically spend time with them and are like big brothers. So Seann William Scott's character gets this little miscreant black kid who has a mouth on him, and he doesn't like Seann William Scott's character immediately. But eventually they establish a bond over Kiss. Because Seann William Scott his character at the beginning of the film, he's a big fan of Kiss. And he had a Kiss CD that he was putting into the energy drink energy drink vehicle's radio. But Seann William Scott's character and the little black kid, they get along over Kiss songs, and the little black kid likes boobies. He's obsessed with boobies. And Seann William Scott's character is obsessed with boobies. So there you go. They get along. Meanwhile, Paul Rudd's character gets paired up with this nerd, total nerd, who he's played by Christopher Mintz-Plasse, or Plasse, or however you pronounce that last name. But anyway, his character, Christopher Mintz-Plasse's character, he is a total nerd. He's at this excuse me, he is basically, a total nerd. And there's the fact that he is in this little organization type thing, little big club called, let me check, actually. I'm going to check out the club real quick that he's in right now. And Lair is what it's called. Live Action Interactive Role Playing Explorers is what it stands for. That is the club that he's in. And basically, he has aspirations of advancing into this club and becoming the master of this club. So, anyway, they start out not getting along very well, but then they start to bond because both of these guys do not want to be in the Sturdy Wings program. Plassey's character's parents put him in this program because they don't support his lifestyle, his nerdish lifestyle, you know, his fantasy world. They want him to be in the real world situation. So they don't like that, and they put him in the Sturdy Wings program as a result of it. So basically, they bond because of that. And in the one of the next things is that Christopher Mintz-Plassey's character, they go into battle, and he spots the king of the whole Lair game, Argatron, played by Ken Jeong. He spots him going off alone without any protection from his guards. So he goes over to him, stabs him in the back, and it seems like he's won. But Ken Jeong, there were no witnesses at all, so he said that he didn't stab him. That basically the king said that he didn't stab him, and he's a wimp, stuff like that. Paul Rudd's character is pretty much ticked off, and he stands up to the king, shoves him. They almost get into a fight. King Argatron banishes Paul Rudd's character and Christopher Mintz-Plassey's character from Lair, and they're done, basically. So that's the story with them. With Seann William Scott's character and the little black kid, Seann William Scott's character gets invited to a party, and he leaves the kid there. Actually, he plays video games with the kid at first, but then there's this woman who actually wants to have sex with him. So he leaves the little black kid alone, and basically, in not being a good role model at all, the little black kid gets tired of waiting around for Seann William Scott, and he walks home on his own. The black kid's mother confronts Seann William Scott about it afterwards. First of all, when all of this plays out, they get kicked out. Seann William Scott and Paul Rudd's characters, they get kicked out of Sturdy Wings because of their negligent attitudes and perceived negligent. Well, Seann William Scott definitely his character had a negligent attitude. Paul Rudd, the reason he got kicked out wasn't because he was out of Lair. He and Christopher Mintz-Plassey's character got kicked out of Lair, but it was because he stood up to his parents, to Christopher Mintz-Plassey's character's parents, and they didn't like that, so they requested a change for the Sturdy Wing Big Brother type person. So they did that, and basically it looks like they're going for 30 days in jail. Looks like they're preparing for it. Paul Rudd's character and Seann William Scott's character. They look like they're going to jail. Look like all hope is lost, basically, for 30 days. But then Seann William Scott's character and the little black kid they reconcile along with the little black kid's mother. They all reconcile, and basically Sean William Scott, a 30-ish-year-old man, says, "Oh, you know, I'll hang out with your kid who's probably like 10 or something like that. I'll hang out with your kid when I'm out of prison." Is that role model or what? I mean, come on. But and then Paul Rudd's character gets along with Christopher Mintz-Plasse character. They kind of they eventually reconcile in this movie, but I might be forgetting some stuff in between. But I might be forgetting a little bit. But basically, the last part of the movie is when they all go to the game, the big lair competition where the last man standing is crowned the king. So basically, Christopher Mintz-Plasse's character, he wasn't going to do it at first. He and Paul Rudd's character were not, they were estranged from each other, kind of, out of comments that Paul Rudd made, Paul Rudd's character made, regarding the whole lair situation and embarrassing him, I think, and something like that. But eventually, Mintz-Plasse's character and Paul Rudd's character, they reconcile, as I said before, and they decide to join the lair competition. They actually get accepted back into lair because Paul Rudd's character convinces King Argatron to let Christopher Mintz-Plasse's character back into lair, which the king accepts. But the king is like, these guys are liabilities. Don't team up with them. Do everything you can to, basically do everything you can to make their lives miserable in lair, I guess. So anyway, Christopher Mintz-Plasse's character, when he was in lair, he had a group that he was in. A small group, but nonetheless, they kind of double-cross Christopher Mintz-Plasse's character when they're in battle. Actually, first off, beforehand, Paul Rudd and Christopher Mintz-Plasse's characters join forces with Sean William Scott and the little black kid's character. They join forces in lair to form their own country to, see what they got against in the big lair showdown. So basically, they do that, and the original group members that were in Christopher Mintz-Plasse's group beforehand, they want to join forces, but it turns out they double-crossed Mintz-Plasse's character because of what King Argatron had said. So the little black kid is the first casualty. He gets stabbed. It is just a game, so he goes on the sidelines. And he's killed, but he goes on the sidelines anyway, But then the battle really does begin, and Sean William Scott's character basically sacrifices himself for Paul Rudd's character. And beforehand, Sean William Scott and Paul Rudd had gotten into a big argument because they were kicked out of Sturdy Wings, and they were estranged from each other for a little bit. But they basically they're friends again after this, after Seann William Scott's sacrifice. Definitely. So, um, so Paul Rudd and Christopher Mintz-Plasse character are left, and they go to the king. They have an idea of how to defeat King Argatron. So their characters go to... Paul Rudd's character creates kind of a diversion for King Young, for King Argatron, kills King Argatron's guards, and engages in a sword fight kind of with Argatron. But then Argatron kills Paul Rudd's character, but Christopher Mintz-Plasse's character's left. Well, actually, Ken Jeong's character and Paul Rudd's character get into it, sword fight. Paul Rudd's character dies, and then Christopher Mintz-Plasse's character comes out of nowhere, essentially, and kills off all of Argatron's guards. And then Christopher Mintz-Plasse's character and Argatron's character, they both engage in a fierce sword battle until Christopher Mintz-Plasse's character defeats King Argatron in battle, seemingly crowned the king since he's the last one standing. But there was a crush of Christopher Mintz-Plasse has a crush, in this game. A woman player. She comes out of nowhere, essentially. She was hiding in the bushes the whole time, and she goes up to, in probably a pretty dick move, she goes up and she stabs Christopher Mintz-Plasse, thus becoming the queen. But then she redeems herself by asking Christopher Mintz-Plasse's character if she can be, or if he can be her king and consort, is what it's called. But anyway, the battle's over. They're all pretty happy. But Paul Rudd, his character basically wins Elizabeth Banks' character back with a rendition of Beth. Elizabeth Banks' character actually is a woman named Beth. So coincidentally, Paul Rudd's character plays the Beth song, the #1 single by Kiss. So he wins her back. Doesn't sing it very well, but still a romantic gesture. And then they reconcile. Jane Lynch's character, they were supposed to go to a court date. Seann William Scott and Paul Rudd's characters, they were supposed to go to court to determine their sentencing. They were most likely going to spend 30 days in jail, but they skipped that court date. So they skipped that court date to play in the Lair game. But Jane Lynch's character is good friends with the judge because Jane Lynch had sex with the judge a long time ago. So all is forgiven, all is good, and everybody lives happily ever after in this at the end. And that's it for the movie, for the plot of the movie. A long plot. I know I couldn't talk in some of these in some spots here. I apologize for that, but oh man. But anyway, what I think of the movie, I thought it was good. I thought it was good enough. It served its purpose. It did its job. It was not spectacular. It wasn't the most spectacular comedy. In fact, some places in the movie were much like another movie that I didn't particularly, I didn't think, oh my god, it was a great movie, Hall Pass. But it was kind of like that in a couple situations. But there were funny moments. There were definitely funny moments in this movie. Paul Rudd's character, typical Paul Rudd character, essentially, in the comedies that he does. Sean William Scott's character, he plays the underachieving slacker, usually, in movies. And William Scott's character, he plays that well. Ken Jeong's character wasn't that memorable to me. Wasn't great. Leslie Chang's character, he played Leslie Chang in the Hangover movies. That was so much better than his role in Role Models. Elizabeth Banks did a pretty good job. Christopher Mintz-Plasse character, playing a nerd, that he did a good job with that. Little black kid did a good job. Bobby Thompson, I think his name was, the actor who played the kid. Good performances, some good, solid performances from the cast. They did a good job. Overall, I would give this movie a 3 out of 5 stars. Like I said, not spectacular, but good, but a good, solid movie that did its job, essentially. And that's it for the review. D-Rock 1992 out.